one universal question that is bound to make every single woman uncomfortable. And that is, are you pregnant? This is the question. My friend Simcha called me and asked me on the phone. She goes, Mushki, I have a question for you. I said, Simcha, is everything okay? She goes, yeah. Are you pregnant?
You don't ask somebody, are you pregnant? But when Iti called me and told me her good news, a little while after I shared the news of Simcha that I'm expecting, she calls me up and says, who else was by that Farbringen? I'm expecting, you're expecting, Mushki has to be pregnant. Like, there's just no question. So I called her.
What's going on? Like, it's a simple question. It's a yes and no. My son is almost 6 years old, and he feels that he started feeling more as he was getting older that he's the only child, and there's not much you could, what am I gonna tell him? But he felt it, and he felt like, we daven, and when he mentioned it to me, I say, we daven, and we'd go to the aisle, and he would write in his pan, started drawing pictures and writing, we want Mashiach now, the Beis HaMikdash, and then he would always draw a picture of a baby.
I, Baruch Hashem, have a son. At the time, he was 5 years old. We were really struggling for a few years. And obviously, we did a lot of treatment, trying different things, and nothing really worked.
We were all at different stages in our life. Some of us were really struggling with infertility. Some of us felt like, I really want a child, but I don't want to be, insensitive, because I'm definitely not at the stage of someone, that doesn't have any children or has one child.
We were very busy running activities and events for young families and running the Hebrew school and preschool. But time was going on, and we still didn't have any children of our own. And we realized we really need to make this a priority. And at this time, the kiddos was coming up, so of course I booked my ticket and I joined the convention.
That kiddos, I felt like I really needed inspiration. I really felt like I needed to do my part on a spiritual level. Not that I wasn't, but I just needed more. And I was looking for something to come home with from this kiddos. And the whole program was looking for inspiration, listening. There's a lot of talk about raising children and chinuch and struggles that different shulchas went through. And clearly I was going through my own thing, but I never really sat around sad about my situation. It was just kind of what do I need to do to get this done? So it's Motzei Shabbos. We're leaving the program. It was beautiful. We're on the bus.
And we were talking to each other, and Shterni Lipsker, who is unbelievable, she was bringing with us.
And the truth is, I live in the valley, so I don't really have such a shaycha, such a connection to them, because, I do my shluchos and they do theirs, and yes, I do carpool, but I didn't really interact with them. But we started talking.
Bringing, chilling, talking, inspiring one another. It's very heated.
The bus driver said, okay, Eastern Parkway, last stop, everyone out. We all get out. Simcha's like, no. The night is not ending for us.
We're not going home. There's no way. We cannot go home. We're in the middle of this insane conversation.
Because who wouldn't want a hot latte at midnight? Right away, it got very warm, very intimate, very real, connected.
A very deep, very real, very emotional, opening of the souls type of a Farbringen.
The intimacy of the night was 8 of us sitting together. A couple of us sitting there together were struggling with infertility. Specifically, 3 of us were struggling with secondary infertility. Another shlucha with infertility, primary infertility. It had that moment that it came together, and we just spoke our hearts that we need to give each other a bracha.
We just turned to one another, and from the depth of our heart, we benched and we wished each other that whatever it is that we are missing in our life, the Eibishter should just shower us with his goodness and with his brachas.
At one point, I remember saying, next year, I'm coming back to New York, with a baby.
We're all gonna come back with children, with babies next year, Chaf Shvat.
We can't just verbring. We're sitting, it's close to 3 a.m. We need to take action. Like this, we have to, let's make a achlata.
The biggest achlata that we took on was that we were all gonna daven for each other.
We don't always allow ourselves the time, or we don't find the time to daven. And so we decided we're going to create a WhatsApp group, and each one of us, which so to speak give a duch to the group that we daven that day. This would be our keli to create the brachas.
I remember leaving that kinnos that year, feeling that next year I'm definitely going to be coming back with my baby in the cold. I just felt so empowered from that kinnos that I just had this feeling that I'm definitely going to be here back next year with my own miracle, my own little bracha.
We switched our fertility clinic and we went for a whole another round of tests. And I remember leaving and feeling so done. And I told my husband, that's it. I'm done. Whatever it is. I can't do this anymore. It's just, it's exhausting. And it's emotionally draining. I get a phone call at around 5 o'clock that day from the clinic saying, "Hi, we just want to let you know, Miss Pierre, that your levels are very high. Take a at-home pregnancy test." And I was like, when she said that, I was like, okay, that would be really crazy. But I did it, and I was expecting. And I called my husband. I just couldn't wait for him to come home. And we just we knew. This was the first of the brachas. It was they were there and they were gonna be showered down upon us.
I said, Simcha, why are you asking me this? She goes, Mushki, do you remember over a year ago, at Chaf Shvat, we had that for bringing?
The fact that it happened for us naturally, I just knew that everyone else was going to get blessed for sure.
She said, I was racking my brain. Who else was at that for bringing that we gave each other brachos, gave tzedakah, and davened with each other with all the kayach of Reb Tzimchai Mushka and Chaf Shvat? She goes, Mushki, you were there. I know you're pregnant. You don't have to go into the doctor's office.
And I think by taking that achlata on and by sitting together and for bringing, it strengthened my emunah. It almost, sometimes when you're going through a hard time, you have your ups and downs, and not always does it feel so good. It's not easy to go through such a journey, but that for bringing gave us and gave me personally that kayach to really believe. And when Simcha called me, it was okay, you see, it's happening. And then a couple months passed, and
but Baruch Hashem, most of us were blessed with children, but there was one girl that was married for a few years and did not yet have her miracle. So when I called up Shterny Lipsker to tell her I was, Baruch Hashem is expecting, first of all, her reaction was, of course you're expecting, Mushki. I'm so happy for you, but I'm not shocked. The power of a Farbrengen and the Rebbe's brachos goes so far. And I said, but Shterny, can I ask you one big favor? I know you're so busy, you're on shluchas. Can you please do one more Farbrengen? It's almost Gimel Tammuz, and we really have another friend that we want her to, B'payil Mamish, have a baby, holding a baby in her arms.
Months went by, and thank God we started hearing some good news from Simcha, was expecting, and Iti, and Mushki, and Zeldi, and everyone's stories, everyone's brachas and miracles were coming to life. And it was just incredible to watch and hear miracles that were coming to life from this Farbrengen. But months went by, and I still wasn't pregnant. I just knew, though, in my heart that the bracha was there. It just wasn't brought down physically. And obviously we were waiting and we wanted the bracha to come down. But I also felt that like how powerful it was that Farbrengen, and my sister reached out to me, Mushki, we need to do a repeat. We saw how powerful the first Farbrengen was, and we want to daven for you. We want you to have your bracha. And so it was Gimel Tammuz the following year, and I hosted a Farbrengen in my house together with Shterny Lipsker, and everybody that participated in the first Farbrengen also joined, and we invited some more people, and again together we made a l'chaim, we davened and blessed each other.
What I feel is that that first Farbrengen was a real catalyst that all the brachais, even later on, for whoever was there, even if it didn't come earlier, that the bracha was going to come because of that foundation Farbrengen.
And a month and a half later, on Rosh Chodesh Elul, I found out the news that I was expecting. At that moment, I'm like, I'm so sure that this is the effect of shluchas coming together and with their whole heart, just davening for each other. Just the power of women being together and blessing each other. Like, we don't even like know the, sometimes we think like, like who am I to really like daven for another person, but each of us have so much power, and we really have the power to bless each other when we do it with our whole heart. And I really felt that this news of me being, like me finally expecting and Mitzvah Shev having our own baby, our own bracha, was really the cause of so many shluchas coming together and davening for each other.
The bracha for me was not about getting pregnant, but it was about continuing a healthy pregnancy and delivering a healthy baby. Simcha was aware that I was in the middle of a very difficult time and a high-risk, complicated pregnancy. When Simcha called me that they had organized a Farbrengen in my honor, what I learned after is about taking initiative for another person, for another friend. She wasn't going through a difficult time, but she knew that I was. And for her to call me and create a Farbrengen and a positive energy for my situation, to me, that meant the world.
Really being together and doing this together as like a sisterhood was what really motivated me and inspired me to keep Tara Chata and to keep davening for each other and looking out for each other and really just channeling down whatever brachas that we could over that weekend and then continuing on.
When we went to our baby's 6-month checkup, his doctor said to us, "Your baby is as healthy as any baby his age."
This is something that will continue to go on, because one Farbrengen leads to another, one bracha leads to another, one miracle leads to another. And if we all seize the opportunities that are presented to us and channel it into a Farbrengen, channel it to a bracha, channel it to a miracle for our sister Shlucha, this is what keeps the Farbrengen going until the biggest Farbrengen, when we'll all be reunited with our Rebbe and our Rebbetzin with only brachas and simchas for eternity.